We're in Book 4, the Book of Birth and Quest, and Canto 4, the Quest. We are reading about Savitri's journey. Her father has sent her out to search the world and find her life partner, companion. And first she traveled from city to city. Sri Aurobindo described those beautiful old Indian cities and the countryside. And then the countryside where the peasants are working. And then she comes into the places where there are no people, where it's just nature, forests and rivers and unspoiled nature. And there it's as if nature, as if our Mother Earth has invited a few and fit inhabitants, a few people to live there. And these are the people who have left the world, who are dwelling in the forest for one reason or another. Some of them are retired kings, who've handed over their kingdoms to their heirs, and now they are preparing themselves to leave the world. And some are ascetics who've renounced the world completely, who are sitting motionless in silent meditation. But some are serving the Lord's will. And some of these are teachers, seers who are gathering a small group of disciples around them who are learning from their influence and their teaching. And what we'll read about today, there are the princes, the young children of kings who come there to be educated. So I'll start reading about them. The infants of the monarchy of the worlds. This is just a few lines from the bottom of the page, line 203, if you have the line numbers. The infants of the monarchy of the worlds, the heroic leaders of a coming time, king children nurtured in that spacious air like lions gambolling in sky and sun, received half-consciously their godlike stamp. Formed in the type of the high thoughts they sang, they learned the wide magnificence of mood that makes us comrades of the cosmic urge, no longer chained to their small separate selves, plastic and firm beneath the eternal hand, met nature with a bold and friendly clasp, and served in her the power that shapes her works. One souled to all and free from narrowing bonds, large like a continent of warm sunshine, in wide equality's impartial joy, these sages breathed for God's delight in things, assisting the slow entries of the gods, Sowing in young minds immortal thoughts they lived, taught the great truth to which man's race must rise, or opened the gates of freedom to a few, imparting to our struggling world the light. They breathed like spirits from time's dull yoke released, comrades and vessels of the cosmic force, using a natural mastery like the sun's. Their speech, their silence was a help to earth. A magic happiness flowed from their touch. Oneness was sovereign in that sylvan peace. The wild beast joined in friendship with its prey, persuading the hatred and the strife to cease. The love that flows from the one mother's breast healed with their hearts the hard and wounded world. Others escaped from the confines of thought to where mind motionless sleeps, waiting light's birth, and came back quivering with a nameless force, drunk with a wine of lightning in their cells. Intuitive knowledge leaping into speech, seized, vibrant, kindling with the inspired word, hearing the subtle voice that clothes the heavens, carrying the splendor that has lit the suns. They sang infinity's names and deathless powers in meters that reflect the moving worlds, sights, sound waves breaking from the soul's great deeps. Some lost to the person and his strip of thought, in a motionless ocean of impersonal power, sat mighty, visioned with the infinite's light, or comrades of the everlasting will surveyed the plan of past and future time. Some winged like birds out of the cosmic sea and vanished into a bright and featureless vast. Some silent watched the universal dance, or helped the world by world indifference. Some watched no more, merged in a lonely self, absorbed in the trance from which no soul returns. All the occult world lines forever closed, the chains of birth and person cast away. Some uncompanioned, reached the ineffable. So back to the Himalayas, to those quiet spaces. You will read, Rosa. Yes?
The infants of the monarchy, the lords, the heroic leaders of a coming time, king, children, natured in that spacious, like lions gamboling in sky and sun, received half consciously their godlike stamp.
Yes, stamp. Yes. Yes, so this was the tradition, no? That the young princes would be sent away from the palace, away from the city, into the forest to study with a guru, to live as part of the guru's household, to serve him and to absorb his teaching. This ancient institution of the Gurukula. And not many people know that when Auroville education was beginning, the mother told to Ananda Reddy that she would like some kind of Gurukula system to happen here in Auroville. Some modernized Gurukula system. So, the infants of the monarchy of the worlds. So all the kings of the world. But this term infants, when we have a small I, then we speak about infant school for the very young children. But for example, in the Spanish royal family, the infante and the infanta, they were the children of the king. So it doesn't necessarily mean they were so young. Probably they didn't send them there so very young. It means they are the princes, the children of the kings, of all the kings of all the different states. They are going to be the leaders, the heroic leaders of a coming time. And that's what Mother wanted her education to produce, heroic leaders for the future. These are king children. And there they are being nurtured in that spacious air, in those open spaces in the mountain. They are being fed in a way that will help them to grow, nurture this that kind of care and feeding and education. So there they play around like young lions, gamboling. Gamboling is what young animals do, and young kids also. In sky and sun, they are enjoying their freedom there in the mountains. But half-consciously, they are receiving something from their teachers, that godlike stamp, that influence of those highly developed souls. Leaves a mark on the nature of the young people. It's godlike. It has a divine effect on them. Nana Lakshmi.
Formed in the type of the high thoughts they sang, they learned the wide magnificence of love that makes us comrades of the cosmic urge, no longer chained to their small separate selves, clasped and firm beneath the eternal hand, met nature with a bold and friendly clasp, absurd in her the power that shapes her works.
Yes. So one of the things that they learn is the singing, the chanting of the mantras, and that forms them in that type, that heroic, aspiring type of those high thoughts that they learn to sing. Later on, when Savitri and Shraddhavan go into the forest together, Sri Aurobindo describes him singing high snatches of a sage's chant. He has learned some of those wonderful slokas. So, learning those mantras, those slokas, they also learn a kind of mood, a wide magnificence of mood, a kind of generous, wide outlook, the kind of outlook that is very good for a king to have, and that makes us comrades of the cosmic urge, of the forward movement of the universe. No longer chained in their small separate selves. They've opened out to a wider movement. And he says there are two things which are complementary. Plastic. It means they're very receptive, they can be shaped, and at the same time they are firm, they're steady, they're not wild and crazy and running around. They are plastic and firm beneath the eternal hand. They met nature, this nature that they live in, that they're surrounded by, with a bold and friendly clasp. They are not fearful. They feel a great friendship and harmony with that world of nature around them. And in nature, they serve the power that is behind nature, the great creative force that shapes her works. So they are in harmony with nature. They are serving what nature is trying to do. They are not destroying and spoiling and exploiting. So that is these infants. And then he returns to the sages, Martin.
One soul to all, and free from narrowing bonds, large like a continent of warm sunshine, in wide equality's impartial joy. These sages breathe for God's delight in things.
So they are one-souled to all. They feel the one soul in all, and that is their attitude to everyone, that attitude of equality and openness. They are free of narrowing bonds, so their consciousness is large, wide, like a continent of warm sunshine. One of the aspects of sunshine is that it's very fostering. It helps things to grow. So they are like that. So they have this wide equality. This is one of the essential characteristics of the yogi. This impartial joy. These sages, they are not breathing for themselves. They are not living for themselves. They are living, feeling one with everything. They breathe for God's delight in things. Gumsun.
Assisting the soul entries of the past, so many young minds and immortal souls may be taught
assisting the slow entries of the gods. It's as if the gods have to enter the mortal, the material world gradually, no? According to the receptivity, the level of development of people. No? So these sages, with their presence and their influence and their teaching, they are assisting these slow entries of the gods. And they are sowing seeds in young minds, seeds of immortal thoughts. And that is how they live, that is their life. They taught that great truth which Sri Aurobindo is teaching us, that great truth to which man's race must rise, that evolutionary goal. And for a few, they are able to open the gates of freedom, of liberation, of moksha. They are able to assist some of those around them to realize their inner freedom. Ganga Lakshmi.
Impacting towards running world the light, the breath,
They breathed.
the breath, like spirit from time's dull yoke release, comrade and vessels of the cosmic force, using a natural mastery like the suns. Their speech, their silence was a help word.
Yes. So imparting, they are communicating the light with a capital L. They are sharing it with our struggling world. Although they are far from the busyness of daily life up there in the mountains, still they are in touch with the world, and they are sharing with it that light to which they have access. And they are breathing like spirits who are released from time's dull yoke. There's this heavy yoke of time where we have to follow minute by minute everything that has to be done. But these sages there, they are free from that. They are like free spirits, living in a kind of timeless state. They are comrades, companions and co-workers with the cosmic force, the force that's doing the mother's work in the universe. And they are vessels, they are holding that force in them. So that gives them a natural mastery, like the sun. The sun is above the whole solar system, no? And it's a ruler, and it's just its nature to shine and spread light and to influence everything around it. Like that, they are radiating the light. Their speech and their silence, whether they speak or whether they remain silent, everything they are doing is helping the earth.
The magic happiness flowed from their touch. Oneness was sovereign in that sylvan peace. The wild beast joined in friendship with its prey, persuading the hatred and strife to cease. The love that flows from the one mother's breast, healing to their hearts, the hard and wounded world.
So this again, this is their influence, no? Their touch brings a magic happiness, and it's spreading an atmosphere of oneness and harmony, oneness was sovereign. The sense of oneness is ruling in that sylvan peace. Sylvan means in the forest. No? In that forest space, it's so peaceful there. So that oneness, that harmony is so powerful that even the wild beast joined in friendship with its prey. We are told in the Bible, that in the lion shall lie down with the lamb. And there are some striking examples where these relationships seem to happen. So they are spreading this happiness, this oneness, and they are spreading the mother's love, the love that flows from the one mother's breast. So that love is flowing out from them, and it's persuading hatred and strife to cease. We need that so much in the world now. Oh, this one mother's love should be flowing out from as many hearts as possible. They were healing with their hearts the hard and wounded world. It's the effect of their influence. So this is one particular kind of seer, of sage, that Sri Aurobindo's been describing over the last couple of pages. And then there are other kinds also. Would you read? Yes?
Others escape from the confines of thought to their mind motionless sleeps, waking night's birth.
Continue. Yeah.
Looking back, we were nameless force.
Too difficult? Okay. Emily, you read it.
Drunk in the wine of lightning stuff.
Intuitive knowledge leaping into speech, seized, vibrant, kindling with the inspired word, hearing the subtle voice that clothes the heavens, carrying the splendor that has lit the suns. They sang infinity's names and deathless powers, in meters that reflect the moving worlds, sight sound waves breaking from the soul's great deeps.
So this marvelous sentence, this deeply moving sentence, refers to the rishis, the Vedic rishis. These are the ones who escaped from the limits of thought to those higher levels where mind is sleeping, motionless, waiting the descent, waiting for the light to be born in it. And when they come back to themselves, to their bodies, they come back quivering with this nameless force. They are intoxicated, drunk with a wine of lightning in their selves. I think Mother had some experience like this. I remember this line being quoted in the agenda. And for them, this knowledge, this light that they've received, this intuitive knowledge, leaps by itself. They don't have to put it into words. It leaps itself into speech. They are seized, vibrating with this light, kindling, coming to fire with the inspired word. They hear the subtle voice that clothes the heavens, that dresses the heavens, and in their voices carrying that same splendor that has given rise to all the suns, all the stars in the universe. They sang infinity's names and deathless powers. This is their song. And they could sing those names of the infinite and the powers of the infinite, all the great gods. They could express them in meters that reflect the moving worlds, these amazing meters of the Vedic verses that resonate with the original creative vibrations.
Vedic mantra.
These Vedic mantras, yes, all of them. And then Sri Aurobindo has a absolutely mantric line of his own. Sights, sound waves breaking from the soul's great deeps. They saw and heard at the same time, and that sight and that sound is coming from the vasts of the soul and expressing itself in words. And Amal Kiran has described how he had this experience of seeing the lines being written before his eyes and hearing them at the same time. So these lines from 234 to 244, these seem to refer to those rishis who've composed all the Vedic hymns. No? But there are other kinds of seers there as well. Joel.
Some lost to the person and his strip of thought in a motionless ocean of impersonal power, sat mighty vision with the infinite's light, or comrades of the everlasting will survey the plan of past and future time.
So some of those few and fit inhabitants, they've completely lost their sense of separate self. They are lost to the person and this little strip of thought which is so important to us, and they experience themselves in this motionless ocean of impersonal power. So they sit, they contemplate that. They are visioned with the light of the infinite. Or maybe the same people or people very close to them, they are comrades of the everlasting will. The will that expresses itself in the manifestation. So they, in their vision, they survey the plan of past and future time. They can see the whole unfolding of the manifestation. Patricia?
Some winged like birds out of the cosmic sea and vanished into a bright and featureless past. Some silent watched the universe advance, or helped the world by world indifference.
So these are three more kinds, no? Some just leave the universe altogether. Some winged like birds out of the cosmic sea. They enter, they go beyond into the transcendent. They vanish into that bright and featureless vast. Some don't vanish, but they are watching this whole dance of the universe. And others are indifferent to the world, but that indifference of theirs is nevertheless, in a way, helping and supporting. You'll read Mahalingam, the last sentence.
Some want no more merged in a lowly self, absorbed in the trance from which no soul returns. All the occult world lines forever closed, the chains of birth and passion cast away. Some uncompanion reach the ineffable.
So these great souls there, no? Some are not watching anymore. They've already merged into the one self. They are absorbed in the trance from which no soul returns. For them, all the hidden world lines are closed. They can't return anymore. The chains, the links of birth and individual personality are cast away. Some, all alone, uncompanioned, reached the ineffable, the absolute, the transcendent. So these are the kind of great souls to be found there in the foothills of the Himalayas long, long ago, and perhaps even today. Some such great souls are there. So shall we read a little bit further? Justin?
As long as the sun beaming through a shady place, the golden virgin in the caravan car came gliding among plantation seeds.
So this is Savitri arriving, no? She comes like a sunbeam. She's always something sun-like about her. So like a sunbeam passing through a shady place, Savitri, this golden virgin, in this carved car of hers, came gliding among these seats of meditation where all these different kinds of sages and seers are sitting. Tatiana.
Often in twilight with returning troops of Canto, thickening with their dust the shades, when the loud day had slipped below the verge, arriving in peaceful plain grove, she rested, drawing around her like a cloak, its spirit of patientness and potent prayer.
It's another beautiful picture, no? Savitri arriving at after sunset, at twilight, with the cattle. You know, during the day, the cows are let out to graze freely, but of their own, they come back in the evening, and that is known as cow dust hour, because as they come on their familiar paths, they stir up the dust, and in that twilight, there's the glow of the when the cows are coming home. Yes. So at that time, just at cow dust hour, she would arrive somewhere, no? When the loud day had slipped below the verge, so it's no longer daytime, all the daily noises have become quiet. Arriving in a peaceful hermit grove, she'd reached some place. There she would spend the night. She would rest there. And it's as if she can draw around herself like a cloak the spirit of that place, the peaceful spirit of that hermit grove, its spirit of patient muse. If you really retire to the forests and renounce everything and are preparing for the next stage, you have to be patient. You can't be impatient. No? There's this patient muse and potent prayer. So the muse may be patient, but the prayer is powerful. So that creates a very special atmosphere she draws that around her like a cloak to refresh her for the night. Or then here's another picture, Sergei.
Or near to the wide rivers, tonic plain and trees that worship on the great shore. The dome and temple airs serene repose, beckoned to her hurrying wheels to stay their speed.
So another picture, maybe at evening time she might be coming to a river, one of these big Indian rivers. Sri Aurobindo describes them as tawny. That's the color that a lion is. You know, they're carrying a lot of sediment. A lion river's tawny mane. The mane is the hair of the lion. And there on the shore, trees worshipping on a praying shore. There's such a lovely atmosphere of devotion and prayer. There may be a little domed temple. And she can rest there, serene repose, smiling rest. So that atmosphere attracts her hurrying wheels to slow down. She can stay there for some time.
In the solemnity of space that seemed a mind wandering ancient silences, where to start great wide one voices called, and the large liberty of brooding seals that left the long impress of the soul seen, awake in candid dawn or darkness mingled, to the still touch and light in the water of flame, drank in hushed splendor between drunk lids, and felt the kinship of eternal calm.
Yes. So Sri Aurobindo always reminds us of the deeper dimensions of these landscapes, no? So she reaches such a place where there's a temple beside a river, trees. There's a certain solemn atmosphere about that space, and that seems almost like a mind remembering ancient silences from long ago. And the heart is attracted, or it's hearing great bygone voices, things that have happened in the past, calling. And that inner freedom, that large liberty of brooding seers has left the long impress of their soul scene. They've inhabited that place, perhaps for centuries, such people. It's left a very special atmosphere. So in such a space, awake in the candid dawn, the fresh open dawn, or maybe in the moonlight of the night, the daughter of flame, Savitri, she's bowed down to that still touch, that special atmosphere of that place, and she drinks in that hushed splendor between tranquil lids. Her eyes also are calm, taking in all the beauty of that scene. And she feels very close to her that eternal calm. But it's just a pause, a respite, because she still has to travel further. Verbal.
But none broke in reminding her of her quest, and from low rustic couch or mat she rose, and went and trod on her unfished way, and followed the fateful orbit of her life.
Yes.
Question, silent words, passes starlight to some bright beyond.
Yes. So the morning comes in, reminds her of her quest, and she gets up. Maybe some cot or something she's been sleeping on, or a mat on the ground, and she's driven, she went impelled on her unfinished way to follow the fateful orbit of her life. There's a line that she has to follow like a planet. So, or a comet. So that movement of the comet or the planet is like a desire questioning silent gods and passing on star-like to some bright beyond. She comes and she passes and she goes through all these different scenes. Suresh?
Hence, a great solitary cat she came, where man was a passer like towards human sense. Her soul in nature vastness strove to live, and called for help to ensouled invisible powers, overwhelmed by the immensity of his world, and unaware of his own infinity.
Thank you. So from those places she moved on. From there, thence, she came to great solitary tracts where there's almost nobody. If there's a human being there, they're just passing by, they're passing through on their way to somewhere else. Or maybe there are one or two solitary people there trying to live alone in that vastness of nature. And these people he refers to now are not those great seers who have gone there deliberately. These are primitive people, tribal people living alone, calling for help to ensouled, invisible powers. They feel overwhelmed by the vastness of the world, and they're not aware of their own infinity. They need help from these spirits they feel around them in the forest. So we read quite a lot today. Yeah. Shall we read those lines again from the bottom of page 382? The infants of the monarchy of the worlds, the heroic leaders of a coming time, king children nurtured in that spacious air, like lions gambolling in sky and sun, received half-consciously their godlike stamp. Formed in the type of the high thoughts they sang, they learned the wide magnificence of mood that makes us comrades of the cosmic urge. No longer chained to their small separate selves, plastic and firm beneath the eternal hand, met nature with a bold and friendly clasp, and served in her the power that shapes her works. One souled to all, and free from narrowing bonds, large like a continent of warm sunshine, in wide equality's impartial joy. these sages breathed for God's delight in things, assisting the slow entries of the gods, sowing in young minds immortal thoughts they lived, taught the great truth to which man's race must rise, or opened the gates of freedom to a few, imparting to our struggling world the light. They breathed like spirits from time's dull yoke released, comrades and vessels of the cosmic force, using a natural mastery like the sun's. Their speech, their silence was a help to earth. A magic happiness flowed from their touch. Oneness was sovereign in that sylvan peace. The wild beast joined in friendship with its prey, persuading the hatred and the strife to cease. The love that flows from the one mother's breast healed with their hearts the hard and wounded world. Others escaped from the confines of thought to where mind motionless sleeps, waiting light's birth, and came back quivering with a nameless force, drunk with a wine of lightning in their cells. Intuitive knowledge leaping into speech, seized, vibrant, kindling with the inspired word, hearing the subtle voice that clothes the heavens, carrying the splendor that has lit the suns. They sang infinity's names and deathless powers in meters that reflect the moving worlds, sights, sound waves breaking from the soul's great deeps. Some lost to the person and his strip of thought, in a motionless ocean of impersonal power, sat mighty, visioned with the infinite's light. Or comrades of the everlasting will surveyed the plan of past and future time. Some winged like birds out of the cosmic sea and vanished into a bright and featureless vast. Some silent watched the universal dance, or helped the world by world indifference. Some watched no more, merged in a lonely self, absorbed in the trance from which no soul returns, all the occult world lines forever closed, the chains of birth and person cast away. Some, uncompanioned, reached the ineffable. As floats a sunbeam through a shady place, the golden Virgin in her carven car came gliding among meditation seats. Often in twilight, mid returning troops of cattle thickening with their dust the shades, when the loud day had slipped below the verge, arriving in a peaceful hermit grove, she rested, drawing round her like a cloak its spirit of patient muse and potent prayer. Or near to a lion river's tawny mane, and trees that worshipped on a praying shore, a domed and templed air's serene repose beckoned to her hurrying wheels to stay their speed. In the solemnity of a space that seemed a mind remembering ancient silences, where to the heart great bygone voices called, and the large liberty of brooding seers had left the long impress of their souls seen. Awake in candid dawn or darkness mooned, to the still touch inclined, the daughter of flame drank in hushed splendor between tranquil lids, and felt the kinship of eternal calm. But morn broke in, reminding her of her quest, and from low rustic couch or mat she rose, and went impelled on her unfinished way, and followed the fateful orbit of her life, like a desire that questions silent gods, then passes star-like to some bright beyond. Thence to great solitary tracts she came, where man was a passer-by towards human scenes, or soul in nature's vastness strove to live, and called for help to ensouled invisible powers, overwhelmed by the immensity of his world and unaware of his own infinity.